so grateful to be here and very happy to discuss these incredibly important and hard to talk about topics. He has an incredible backbone and staggering moral fiber. Howie is totally committed, completely ethical, totally admirable. No pressure if you can hear this, but honestly, Howie's a hero to me.
John, you joined us before, and it was a pretty incredible kind of testimony you gave, and you just devoted your life to advocacy for child trafficking, and even 9/11 truth. Maybe you could explain to us, in the last decade, what do you think the most challenging parts of coming alive on some of these issues have been?
Probably the hardest thing, and it continues, is just realizing that pretty much everything that I was told and taught since I was in grade school is probably not true. Good evening and welcome to the Traffic Report. It's 12:03 on the Eastern Seaboard in the rather dark foothills of the Appalachians. And the only swinging I want to see out of Hollywood would be at the end of a rope. And the only guy I know who's cooler than Kool and the Gang is Pizzagate Howie. Howie, how are you?
John, I think your DJ is coming out. Like you have this 70s DJ style that, and I don't know any of the. By the way, I don't know any of this is happening. Like this is all John. I'm not privy to any of this, and so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm in a real. Well, I'm in a really good mood, and I'm in a really bad mood at the same time because like I haven't felt. Like, and I hope everyone out there feels how much momentum we have right now and how much that the Harvey Weinstein thing has gotten people engaged. And, it's about, sexual assault, but people are, taking it to the next level, and we're ramping it up because we know beside, it's obvious that, he's committed sexual assault, but we know what's next. We know what's out there, and it's the children.
And I do, and I've been awake since 1:00 yesterday, and just everything that's going on. There is some kind of energy going on, and it feels like good energy. Kathy McCauley was asking, is something finally going to happen? I said, yes. I tweeted at her, and I'll just take a minute right off the bat to thank the Twitter line, the Twitter feed, and the notifications have been going off. Missy, V, L, a lot of other people that Bailey and just thank you everybody that's following the show on Twitter and has been participating and feeding us all this fantastic information.
And the information is coming fast and furious from many, many different angles. It's very difficult to keep up with at the moment.
Yeah, it's just it's kind of surreal because we did the show on the Vegas shooting, and it seemed like the Weinstein deal was a diversion from that. And not only has the Vegas shooting backfired and it's unraveling like crazy, I think the Weinstein thing is a bigger backfire, and it's shaking the earth right now. That's the way I feel it, with people like I'm trying to think of the actor's name. Crews is his last name. Terry Crews?
Yes, Terry Crews.
Yeah, came right out, former NFL player.
Not Tom Cruise.
Yeah, not Scientology freak Tom Cruise.
Not Scientology Tom. The only man that can save you in a car accident.
Yeah, Terry Crews and a number of other A-list Hollywood actresses, actors are just coming out and they're telling their story. And when I heard that, I said, this sounds like a cover-up, and they're talking about sexual harassment. This has probably got very little to do with sexual harassment, though that's important, and they are all victims of this asshole too. But the way I looked at it initially was, they're going to try to say this guy was a sexual harasser, and that's it. I said, and from what we know, that's a pedophile right there. Just absolutely, alleged at this point. But Elle tweeted just before I came in here. I was reading her tweet, and it was one of his victims, another Hollywood actress, was a minor when he was raping her or whatever, this creep, and forgive me, I don't have all the names of all these actresses, and I will, compile them, at some point, but it's just the information is coming in so fast and furious that it's almost impossible to keep up with. But all the people on our Twitter line and on Facebook, and that's another, big shout out to Pamela Olson, and she's with Save the Children California, and they're doing great work on Facebook. Rosie Russo, just all these. I mean, our show ad last week was seen by about 4,000 people, and that's pretty humbling and encouraging, and it's a whole lot of things. But
I didn't even know that. You should have mentioned that to me.
Yeah, I'll tell you everything.
Well, we only talk 2 hours. We only talk 2 hours a week. Thursday, Tuesday, and Thursday. But
just a big thank you to all those people, and I just want to get into briefly, because this to me, and I was posting that's why I was awake at 1 o'clock in the morning. I got from a friend just an unbelievable tweet. And it was about a child identification system sponsored by the fucking Masons, who, from my research, are up to their necks in the pedophile networks and pedophilia and all sorts of other. Let's put it this way: it's not a coincidence that the Scottish Rite Palace, whatever the fuck they call those things, is 500 yards from the White House, if that much. These are all the movers and shakers in politics, law enforcement, the legal system, and shout out to Tim Hotham, who's still fighting that fight against, these same forces. And, when I saw that, literally, I thought my head was going to blow up, and I started researching it, and it turns out, and we've tweeted those, that they're all going to be in the show notes also, but I'll try to condense this because that's really not what the show's about tonight. But believe me, there's going to be a show on that, and a big one. And I believe Missy's going to, she's researching this, and I've invited her to come on because she's just incredible. The research that she does. And so at any rate, what I found, and I found all these Masonic sites where they had this program, and they're they go to a fair or wherever the hell they do it, a church or whatever, and they get your kid's picture, their fingerprints, and there was a fingerprint on my friend's this paperwork that she found that she didn't even knew existed, of a 2-year-old, and a picture of the 2-year-old, and a child that was a little bit older and a little bit older than that. And they're asking for hair samples, DNA, dental records. Immediately when I saw it, I mean, the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. I knew that this is bullshit. There's something way wrong with this. So I kept looking, and I ran across a website that had about 50 of the Masonic lodges across the nation, because this was touted, and they did PR on it, and they had a national website, that was supposed to be not a repository, because they say all this information they take on your kid is deleted immediately when they make this DVD for you from a laptop at whatever location you're at, which is total bullshit. And so at any rate, I'm getting all these dead links, and there's not a trace of it on probably 40 of these 50 websites. So I'm thinking, wow, something happened here. And so then I run across this article that Huffpost put out in Canada. And I think it was in 2009, something like that, maybe 2010. But we'll be retweeting that out, and it'll be in the show notes. But they dissected this program and just tore it apart, pointed out that it's not anything to do with the FBI, that any of the information that they get, number one, you can't, and I knew this, but it was nice of them to point it out. They can't take DNA in a parking lot, and put it on a DVD. How the hell do you do that? And this one website. So at any rate, I just knew it was crazy. The article said it was crazy, so I figured, okay, so they outed this, and it's been stopped. But I had like 10 more websites. I said, I'm going to go through these, see if I can find an old web page or something, archived, whatever. And so I hit this Georgia website, and it's the state website for the Masons in Georgia, and it's live, it's active, and the same bullshit comes up, and I'm going to tweet this out in a minute, so you'll be able to go there and see it yourself. And I'm like, this can't be real, because they've got this horrible picture of these 2 kids it's just creepy, that they're helping these kids, and they go through the same bullshit, and it's right there in black and white. They're telling the parents on this website, and I'm sure in person, that the DNA that they put on this DVD, that if the child goes missing, a dog can sniff it and they'll be able to find the child. So I'm like, okay, so this is just evil, whatever it is, because we know that's not true. We know the information is probably not just going to the parents. It's being cataloged and database somewhere. And like we've heard about Facebook and other social media, it's basically a catalog for these pedos. And they go through it, they find a kid they like, and they go out and kidnap them, and that's happening every day. So we're going to look into this and just look at these, get these websites out, get this information out, because anybody, you could go and there's upcoming dates that these scumbags are going to be out there trying to register kids. And I won't say it, but we're going to do some in-depth investigation on this and give, out it as far and wide as we can possibly out. And it's like an alert, emergency, danger. Do not, I don't want any kid, within a mile of these assholes. So at any rate, that's why I'm awake for however long it's been. And I'm happy to be awake. So I'm done, Howie. Just take it away.
That's okay. I was giving you your space, but we'll get to that. It's funny. I was just trying to find the guy's name. Just a real quick anecdote. The night before I went to Comet Ping Pong last year in November, I was tweeting about Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland, who I went to, who came. He's a senator, one of the senators from Maryland. He came to Philadelphia to campaign for Hillary. He's Jewish, and he's one of the strongest supporters of Israel. And he came to a synagogue pretty close to where I live. So I went and visited him, and it was supposed to be like a town hall, and able to ask questions, but you had to write the questions down. So I wrote the question down, blah blah blah, and my question was about WikiLeaks and the Podesta emails, and he gave a very canned answer, and I was pretty pissed off about that. So I actually confronted Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland after this little town hall, and I looked him dead in the eye. I looked the senator dead in the eye, and I said, you know what, you just lied to these people, and we know you're lying, and it's all coming out. And he was in his senator mode the whole time, and I'm telling you, he turned white as a ghost. But the point of the story was that his father was a 33rd degree Freemason. I didn't find this out till after, and I was tweeting about how his father was a 33rd degree, and Mason picked up on it. I guess I was using the hashtag Freemason, Mason, whatever, and this guy got me the Sunday before the Monday that I went to Combat Ping Pong, and he just showed up again, and I was like, I totally remember his picture. His picture hasn't changed. He's out in like Idaho or something. He's the Grand Poobah of the Idaho whatever, blah blah blah. And I'm like, dude, you remember? And he denied remembering me, knowing anything about me, blah blah. But he it just shows up and he acts like such a troll and everything. It's just unbelievable. But then the Masons are on the list. The only problem is it's like trying to find out information on them because, everything is hush hush, whether it's.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, the people,
yeah.
I'll tell you one thing about that. The British have done a very good job of that because Sonny Clarabelle and Wildcat and a bunch of, and I hope people we're trying to make, these network connections with all these different survivors in different countries, but they have determined this and published information about it, that the reason none of these pedophile investigations were going anywhere was the Masons that were in the cops. And
I got you. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
Why did all the dead, once again, we're going to just keep talking about it, the dead end alley, you have all this information and they just lead you right down to it, right down the alley and hit a brick wall, and it just evaporates. Before we get into Hollywood, there was one story that it was I caught it from a friend. 70. Now it was at the time it was over 70, but I think they've narrowed it down to 74 foster care children in the state of Kansas are missing from their foster care homes. And the head of Kansas foster care went in front of the Kansas legislature to explain what happened. And everyone is in disbelief that 74 children could be missing. This is the same agency, you can find them. Yeah, Adrian Jones.
Responsible for the death of Adrian Jones, Judy Conway.
Right, ignoring all the signs and all the abuse. So on Twitter, they're at DCF Kansas, I believe.
Yep.
And and I actually called them, and of course they forwarded me to their public information officer.
Oh boy, yeah, wow.
No, and I left a message, and she did call me back, and I was taking a nap, and a couple of days ago I was taking a nap, and she called me back like 8 times, which I found, very very strange. I looked on I kept hearing my phone ring, and when I looked down, when I eventually looked, it was 8 times she called me, and I finally, I woke me up, and I was talking to her, and she said, well, send me an email and we'll do our best to answer your questions. I said, I don't want to talk to you. I said, do you work with children? I was like, what do I want to talk to you about? You're like, I don't need your media release. I've been down this road a million times. It's like, I'm telling you right now, lady, tell your people that it's over. It's up. Like you can send out your media releases and, we're working hard to figure out So you let them know. And she's like, but I mean, these public information officers that work for these organizations, I mean, they're just there to stonewall everything. Like, I'm asking her a direct question.
PR, that's all it is. It's PR.
It's unbelievable. But until I'm telling you, everybody, and I tweeted it out, everybody should be calling Kansas DCF and asking how, you're going to get the same thing. Please send us an email. But their phone should be ringing off the hook 24/7. 70 children are unaccounted for.
Gee, you would think that the National Center for Missing Children would hold a press conference.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Yeah, so this is all going on in the midst of Harvey Weinstein, and it's pedo, it's pedo wood now. That's the new nickname.
Like, where do we start? We last week, we did some background. We talked about him and a few other people, and so some of the people like Corey Feldman who have obviously been victims of this and are now survivors. And go to Corey's Twitter line and tweet some support to that guy, please. This may be his time to come forward, because he's seeing a lot of people in his industry doing the same. I think he, obviously wants to come forward. So give the guy some support, and they, the fucking.
He's blocked a lot of people, though. Like, he doesn't seem to want to talk about it now. He came out at that one time, and I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if he did it. I mean, my personal theory is that he put that out there as though, like, hey, I need some work here, so I'm going to go out and do this. And it's like he sent a message to Hollywood, like, hey, get me back in the game, or I'm going to start naming names. And they they got him back into the game. He's D-list, C-list, whatever they want to call it. But at least he's working, doing whatever.
What it looks like to me is that he's dying. The guy, to me, seemed like he was on drugs. He doesn't look well at all, either physically, mentally, or spiritually. And you never know when that break is going to happen. And I don't want to see him, like the other Corey, end up as either a suicide or just an overdose. So please go and give the guy some support. You get blocked, but show him some support. He's a survivor, and survivors have the timetable. We don't get to say you should do this or you should have done this or whatever. That nobody that hasn't, and that's what's so cool about what's happening with the show and the people and the survivors, is that a network is forming. And that is just going. That's going to be. I can't even imagine what good things that's going to do. That's what needs to happen. That survivors have an organization that they can turn to of other survivors, and the therapeutic value of one of them helping another one. And there's no parallel to that. That's the truth in addiction. An alcoholic helping another alcoholic. That's better than any treatment center. And it's no different with trauma. PTSD. I mean, we CISD in the fire department. That if you can get with people that have been through it, that's how you get in recovery. So, I'm just real excited about that, and I'm hoping, as somebody like Corey or anybody else that's been raped and abused by these monsters, sees people in their own industry saying, "Hey, screw this! I don't give a shit if I ever work again. I'm coming out. I'm gonna say what I have to say." And try to get. And the other thing, I tweeted. I can't remember who it was, but it was the girl that Affleck had sexually battered. That asshole who comes out, "Oh, Harvey Weinstein. Oh, I'm so And we're going to talk about that tonight. These hypocrites, and I got a list of them. Meryl Streep's right at the top, and the decrying how horrible Harvey Weinstein and sexual harassment, and he sexually battered a girl, just probably more than one. And the piece of shit comes on Twitter and apologizes. It's like, you know what you're apologizing for, Ben Affleck? A crime, a felony, sexual battery. So fuck your apology.
Listen. We were talking before the show, and I think it's become pretty apparent that in Hollywood, the rule, we've known that there's a different set of rules. But the now we're finding out that the rule, we've known these things, through hearsay and conjecture, whatever. But now it's coming out that the rules they just did not apply. They did not apply to these people. They didn't care. They do what they want to whoever they want, and there are no repercussions. But aside from them, what we have, I think what we have to focus in on are the police, the FBI, and all the investigators that are supposed to be, doing their job regardless. Everybody's equal under the law, and how this could have been going on for so long and so many people known about it. One person that came out against Harvey, and it is Harvey Weinstein, by the way. Because I did my research. Heather Graham, the actress, I know her from Roller Girl in Boogie Nights, which is actually a very good movie.
Right.
Yeah, and she came out and said that everybody knew about Harvey, like everybody knew about him.
Except Meryl Streep, except Hillary Clinton, they had no idea.
Yeah. Well, yeah. They asked Hillary if he was a friend, and she's like, "Yeah, I would consider him a friend," and she doesn't leave it. Yeah, I would consider him a friend, but so did everybody else. Like there's always a caveat to her answer. She just can't. She can. I mean, these people can. She can never give a yes or no. But of course, he was a friend. I mean, and he also gave a lot of money and hosted parties. But there's more people in Hollywood. Harvey. He's getting all the attention he deserves right now, and we're talking about like where to start, and we talk about Pedowood, and I like now we should just go nice transition would be Pedo Woody, because Woody Allen is like one of the most
Hey, I like that. That was awesome.
You like that? Yeah. I started the Pedowood hashtag, and I Pedo Woody, but there's an article from Vanity Fair that was written in I think 2014 about what happened, and it was back in 1992. I don't know how old Dylan Farrow was at the time. I want to say 6 or 7. But
Ronan? Ronan?
No. Dylan was the daughter that he.
Right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. My bad.
Yeah. So I just want to read. There's the article is 10 undeniable facts about the Woody Allen sexual abuse allegation. Blah blah blah. So there's 10, but number 6, Dylan's claim of abuse was consistent with the testimony of 3 adults who were present that day. On the day of the alleged assault, a babysitter of a friend told police and gave sworn testimony that Allen and Dylan went missing for 15 or 20 minutes while she was at the house. Another babysitter, I don't know how many, I guess they had 3 babysitters. Another babysitter told police and also swore in court that on the same day she saw Allen with his head on Dylan's lap facing her body while Dylan sat on the couch staring vacantly in the direction of the television set. A French tutor for the family told police and testified that day she found Dylan was not wearing underpants under her sundress. The first babysitter also testified that she did not tell Farrow that Allen and Dylan had gone missing until after Dylan had made her statements. These sworn accounts contradict Moses Farrow's recollection of the day in People magazine. And there was also Yale New Haven Hospital child sex abuse clinics finding that Dylan had not been sexually molested, cited repeatedly by Allen's attorneys, was not accepted as reliable by the judge or by the Connecticut state prosecutor who originally commissioned them. So whatever the Yale New Haven Hospital child sex abuse clinic is, they were siding with Woody Allen. But there's a lot to the story. And if you read this, I tweeted out to the Traffic Report. And if you read these 10 things, and all the inconsistencies and something's there and adults that were, all corroborated, testimony. But once again, he got it, nothing came of it. Nothing came of it.
I got to talk about the Pharaohs a little bit because
Yeah, Ronan just came out.
Yeah, it's so ironic, but Mia and I'm pretty sure Mia was around when Dylan was getting raped by Woody. Correct? I mean that. They were
together.
Still together.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
I wonder if Mia is surprised that happened, and prior to that, she's one of the ones that testified in a libel case for Roman Polanski, and he was being called a child rapist, which is what he is, and convicted of, and what flight from prosecution. You know, that's why he's not in this country. But she writes a letter for this asshole, and I'm pretty sure she signed this petition. We're going to talk about this petition in a little bit. Who, coincidentally, the third name I'm looking on there that's petitioning Switzerland to release Polanski immediately is Woody fucking Allen. And was Mia really surprised? That her, what was her support for this child rapist? What did that say to Woody? I guess that said to him, it's okay to do that to her own kid, which happened. And the total irony is that Ronan was the one who exposed Weinstein, and that NBC shit-canned his expose. So what a family. And thank you, Ronan, for the work that you did to do this, because Ronan's attempting to do the right thing, and coming out of that family, that's a miracle, and more power to him. And coming out of that family, who wasn't abused in this culture, we're talking about Hollywood and these creeps, whether it's Woody Allen or Meryl Streep or Harvey Weinstein, whatever his name is. I could give a shit, how you pronounce it. I mean, the guy's name is Rapist. Yeah. Okay. I'm not going to say it, Howie. I will not pronounce his name correctly, but it's this culture, and like you said, the laws obviously don't apply to them. But you know what? If they go out and they drunk drive, guess what? They get arrested. So the same applies, and whether they thought they did or not, they do, and they're about to apply even more and more. And these people, and I just want to, this is what this angers me on so many levels. I would never have time in a week to even get to those, but what particularly gets under my skin is the hypocrisy. And Meryl Streep, Hillary Clinton, no, they don't release. They don't even pay this enough attention to release their own statement. They get their secretaries to release statements of how appalled they are at Harvey Weinstein for this terrible and unacceptable behavior. Horse shit. Okay, Meryl Streep, the child rapist Polanski that you stood up and gave a standing ovation, and he wasn't there because he would have been in jail if he was in this country, and we couldn't get the guy extradited. Switzerland arrested him, and through legal mumbo jumbo, we were unable to extradite that asshole. He should come back here. He should go to jail. And in case anybody wonders, because all these assholes got together, this was on the 29th of September. They and I can't say exactly let me see what year this is. 2009. He goes to Switzerland. They arrest him. So immediately 100 of these Hollywood assholes, these pedophiles, or at least pedophile apologists or protectors, we need a petition. So let me read you some of this petition, okay? And it's just like the news calling child rape, whatever they call it. They never call it what it is. But this line particularly stuck out to me. And it said, this is out of the petition for Roman Polanski, convicted child rapist. And for anybody that doesn't know, this was a 13-year-old that he drugged with Quaaludes and then had vaginal and anal sex with. That was incapacitated. Okay? That's what this asshole did. and this is how they put it in the petition. His arrest follows an American arrest warrant dating from 1978 against the filmmaker in a case of morals. What morals? This piece of shit raped an unconscious 13-year-old, and 100 of these assholes wanted him released immediately, and probably the pressure they put on Switzerland, the United States was unable to extradite him. Okay? So September 29th, these are the assholes that signed this, and I'll just cover the highlights of it. I'm not going to give you all 100. It's online. It's, Google Polanski petition, and you can read this article and see all 100 names that wanted this child rapist released immediately because he'd been railroaded and he was being treated improperly. Well, your buddy Woody, child rapist himself, he's the third. He got right on this petition. He's the third one that signed it. Okay, let's see who else we have on here. Who's who of Hollywood, lesser known names. Just trying to cover the ones that people know. Let's see, a lot of French guys that I have no idea.
Is Whoopi Goldberg's name on the list?
I haven't come across it yet, but I'm.
Okay.
I know.
Why? Just real quick, while you're looking, I don't know when it was. I don't know what year this was, but it came up on The View, and there used to be. I just tweeted it out to the Traffic report. There's video of Whoopi Goldberg basically saying, and I'm paraphrasing here, that what Polanski did wasn't like rape.
Rape. Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't like a legitimate. I mean, she went through this whole thing. You have to watch it. For some reason now the video is really grainy. I've watched it before and it was fine. It seems as though YouTube might be. Maybe because it's The View or something. I don't know, and it's fair use. But she said something. It was to the effect that what Roman Polanski did was not rape. So
right. You're absolutely right.
I don't even know why it came up on The View, but Whoopi Goldberg add her to the list of another person
and tweet at her. I tweeted at her for a couple hours last night about this. It's like. Rape, really? Roman Polanski? If the 13-year-old was conscious, would that have been rape? Whoopi? You sorry.
But the point is, she doesn't even know. She wasn't there. She doesn't. What does she know about the case? When has Whoopi Goldberg and Roman Polanski's paths crossed? So why would she be going out? Why would she be sticking her neck out for someone that she doesn't even know?
Going with the flow.
No. There's going with the flow. No, there's something more, way more there. Because if you want now we can come full circle that in one of these Woody Allen articles, and this is from it's called therap.com. There was another article about Woody Allen, and it was basically a timeline of the sexual abuse allegations that Barbara Walters vociferously defends Woody Allen over sexual abuse claims. And so there's a link to that on the Rap, and I also tweeted that out to the Traffic report. So you have a timeline, and here comes Barbara Walters, and I mean her path may have crossed with Woody Allen, but she is defending him vociferously. And how would she know? No idea. So we have two people on The View, Barbara Walters defending Woody Allen and Whoopi Goldberg defending Roman Polanski. And of course, The View is on ABC, which is owned by Disney. You make the call. You do the math. Listen, I don't know what goes on in Hollywood, but let me tell you something. It is the whole. I mean, these people. It's up, man. The game is up, and sociopaths never give up, and they're all going to keep fighting, and we just keep doing what we're doing.
This list of shame. Let me just get a few of these names out out of here. Martin Scorsese. Anybody know him? And I think what they did, they got a bunch of B, C-list people to sign this petition, because most of these people, most people wouldn't know. Costa Gravas, that's a pretty famous director. Terry Gilliam of Monty Python animation and
Really?
movie director fame. Buck Henry, David Lynch, Blue Velvet. Real surprise there. But just to have, and this case was so well publicized that these assholes, there's no way they didn't know exactly what he did to that 13-year-old, and they're all 100 of them pleading for, and it's not just the people that signed this petition. Okay, it's people like Meryl Streep, like Whoopi Goldberg, and the rest of them. Go on YouTube and see the ovation that this rapist got, right, because he couldn't be there in person.
But the bottom line is that none of them were there. None of them know exactly what happened because they weren't there.
That's even worse. That's even worse.
Right. And that's my point. So listen, if my best friend got convicted of raping a 13-year-old and I wasn't there, and I've known him my whole life or whatever, but I'd be like, I'm not going to come out and say he didn't. Like, I don't know. I'd be asking a lot of questions before I would be defending him. As a character witness. I don't even have a best friend. This is completely hypothetical, but I would just let the facts come out. I mean, why would people who aren't that close to the situation put themselves out there unless they're paid to do so, or it's part they're told to do so. The
good old boy system. Everybody involved in that knew about Harvey Weinstein. They know about the other guys.
The Good Old Boys Network in Hollywood seems to have a lot of good old girls. The women are the ones coming out and doing it. And you know what? Come on, man. Something.
And as usual, Twitter is trying to clamp down on this. They really can't. But Rose McGowan, another person who's come out against Weinstein, her Twitter was suspended. And let me see their explanation of this. This is Twitter's official statement. Oh, she had a tweet that included a private phone number, which violates its terms of service.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So as soon as she removed it, they unsuspended their account. Bullshit. Well, we know that the traffic report. I get suspended for signing on sometimes, but it's just the whole, and it's no different. And we're talking about Hollywood, and it's horrible. It's probably a little worse, but we have seen through just doing this show, when you're talking about police departments, explorers, fire departments, explorers for fire departments. You're talking about the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, USA Gymnastics, Indiana University, Kenzie's pedophiles. I mean, this is our whole culture is pervaded by these monsters, and until we played last week from Network, you get mad as hell and not just open your window, but show your ass up and let these people know that this is just not going to be tolerated anymore. It'll continue, because reading this on Twitter and tweeting and blah blah, that does shit. And I'll just take this opportunity, and one of the best opportunities for anybody is going to be April 28th in Washington D.C. Survivors rally. Becky, I think V's going to be involved with that. Missy, Dez, I hope. Any other survivors that we're getting contact with survivors on Facebook. There's a guy.
There will be many survivors there. April 20th. The account is up. It is at survivors or at survivor. Oh geez, I don't even remember. It's either Survivor or Survivor's Rally. It's probably Survivor's Rally. The CSA was a little too long for the @ so it's at Survivor's Rally, and please go and follow.
Yeah,
and that's where all the information will be.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm still looking over this Twitter article, and
okay.
oh my God, Rose used the word rape, and they had a problem with that tweet, and
I really want to focus on this guy Dan Schneider.
Schneider, yeah, please, because I don't know other than I know who he is, and anything that's on Nickelodeon is suspect to me. Howie, take it away.
Well, I mean, I know this guy from growing up in the 80s. There was a television show called Head of the Class, and he was one of the teen. I guess he was a teen actor, and he was on the show. He played. It was for those who don't know the show. It was a special class. Everybody was intelligent. You know, they were all gifted. Robin Givens was on the show. A few others. Howard Hessman was initially the teacher, and then it was the Irish Billy Connolly. Yeah, Billy Connolly. Yeah, he took over. So, and that was the last I heard of him until I'd been on Twitter, and then things started coming out about him. He actually turned into a producer for Nickelodeon, and one of his first shows that he produced was the Amanda Show, and I didn't even know the Amanda Show, but I knew who Amanda Bynes was because she was put out in public, and she had all her problems, but there are just I don't want to say allegations, but there's just visual evidence of him just being incredibly creepy with these teen actresses. And I mean, I have, there's pictures all over the place, but some of his work, and he's the producer, and he became a big producer. The Amanda Show, What I'd Like About You, Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, iCarly, Victorious, Sam and Cat. So, and I know, I have a niece, she's a little bit older now, but she was into all these things, and I wasn't paying too heavily attention. But it's very interesting when I was watching these shows. Particularly, she used to be an iCarly fan, and
if just to interrupt you for a second, if you want to ask Dan about these pictures, he's at DANWARP on Twitter.
Dan Warp. I don't know what the Warp
means. Dan. Yeah, that's weird. So sorry.
Yeah, no idea. But I always had a problem with these shows that my niece would watch because there was iCarly would be like my favorite example because I was trying to figure out the show, and John, you probably have no idea what it's about, but it was it was these two girls, and they did like a webcast at the time, and they would just about their day or whatever, and they would just film themselves and put it out there on the internet. But the point that I was always trying to figure out, they kind of lived in this loft with an older brother, and I was like, where are the parents? Like how old are these kids, and like, do they go to school? And there was never, in all these shows that she would watch, there was very rarely an adult presence, and the children had way too much autonomy, and I was like, do they go to school or whatever? And like, who what city are they in? It's everything was ambiguous. But and then eventually when an adult showed up in the show, they were like the bumbling idiot. But anyway, he is the producer of a lot of these shows. There's a lot of sexual innuendo. I came across somebody had started a thread. They said, do not reply to this because they just wanted the thread. And I wish I had it. But just showing all the sexual innuendos in his shows. And even if there's older teenagers in the show, on Nickelodeon, I mean, you have kids under 10 watching this stuff. And it's
and
just
what do we say? Where do you find the pedophiles, Howie? Where do you find them?
Anybody likes to hang around kids, man.
Where the kids are. Where the kids are.
Yeah. And this, and he, and there are pictures of him. There are pictures of him, touching children, the actresses, and listen. I don't care if you're the producer or not. It ain't. It's not appropriate for a 40-something-year-old man to be touching someone else's child in the way that he's doing it, whether he's the producer or not. And
I'm looking at. I'm just doing a Google image search on this asshole. And
I've sent them to you. You got to check your Twitter feed more. I'm pretty. Ariana. Ariana Grande was in one of his shows. There's a lot of people, but the Amanda Bynes, and I also tweeted out a documentary, a pseudo documentary on YouTube that somebody did on Amanda Bynes. And like I said, at the time when she was making headlines and going into court, looking all disheveled and basically, for lack of a better term, crazy. People were just making fun of her. I didn't know who she was. And then I find out she had this thing called the Amanda Show, which I'd never heard of before. And, it's, it does, you don't have to do, too much math, put one and one together to realize.
If you're wondering about Dan Schneider, Missy just posted the thread, and it's in our, Twitter
did she post the thread? Okay. That's probably where I've been. Yeah, and it's a great thread, and it seems he has a bit of a foot fetish on top of it. And this is the guy that is working around lots and lots and lots of, and he's the number one. He's the big guy at at Nickelodeon, and just another one. And there's a lot of these people, but this has been going on like before the Harvey Weinstein thing. I've known about Dan Schneider, and people had brought it to my attention, and you just use the eye test, and it's like, wow, something ain't right here. Something isn't right.
There's a picture. It looks like he's groping Michelle Obama. I mean, this fucking guy. This is who you want around you, and I mean, Nickelodeon. Nickelodeon and all the work that Honeybee's done and the grooming through all that. I mean, that is right. I don't even want to know what the subliminal crap that network puts out to groom and brainwash kids to be
right. I got I was able to have get a taste of it by because of from my niece and being around her a little bit and just in passing stop and talk to her. The TV was always on, and taking a look, and after a while, I started, it didn't feel right to me. Like these shows they didn't feel right to me. And this is years ago, maybe 10 years ago, 8 years ago, and it's something that people are starting to really pay attention to now because a lot of kids are watching this, and the parents don't pay attention to what the kids are watching, whether it's these shows on Netflix. I'm not even going to remember the name of this, the Big Mouth, I guess. This stuff is all over the place, and laughing in our faces. And it's time. Listen, enough is enough. And
hey Dan, if you're listening, get ready, buddy, because the microscope is. Dan's been
out there for a while. And listen, we're only talking about three people right now. We're talking about Woody Allen and Roman Polanski, and now with Dan Schneider. But there are convicted. There are people that have been convicted of child rape. I believe his name is Bryan Singer, and he was the director of X-Men. Because I don't watch these things.
Brian, you're probably right. I don't watch them either, but that sounds familiar.
Yeah, an American film director, producer, writer. I'm sure we'll get into the actors later, but the people that are in charge, the producers, the writers, the directors, the people that really can make things happen for actors and actresses. I mean, he's convicted. He's convicted.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah. And I mean, that's got to be like a miracle to actually convict one of these scumbags. But I'll tell you what, and whoever, this was so egregious that even the DOJ had to sit up and take notice. They've opened an investigation on Mr. Stein, whatever his name is.
Stein.
Yeah. And if you know, and all these, you know, and the survivors of this that are coming forward, you know, the statute of limitations is still open on a lot of these cases, and that's what needs to happen. That's what I haven't seen happen, that I pray will happen soon, that these cases start getting prosecuted, like the Vatican number 3, who's got over 100 counts of child rape that he's facing. Oh, and incidentally, the reason you're not hearing anything about that, there's a news blackout, you know, on the case from Australia, but it's still ongoing. We're keeping track of it. But Dan, I would get ready for a lot of scrutiny, buddy. And I think,
but at the same time, you know, there's things coming out that people have made allegations against these people, and they have gone nowhere. And even against Harvey Weinstein, they went nowhere, and that's confirmed. And that's from MSNBC. So now we need to start looking at, you know, is it the Hollywood police, the LAPD, whoever runs that, you know, the FBI out there, whoever is in charge of investigating these things and holding their feet to the fire, because obviously people have been paid off to, you know, to make things just, you know, go away.
Well,
Dead end.
Attorney General Sessions, if you're listening tonight, you know, you better get with the program here, because there's a lot of pissed off people, and they're not getting any less pissed off as time
not at all. No, it's not going anywhere. So, you know, like I said, you know, like, I mean, this is opening up a lot of doors, and we need to stay extra vigilant. And I see new people coming in, and people are angry, and, you know,
that's
it's
good.
It's, you know,
Howard Beale, get angry. Go to the window.
No, some of us are going to go out with some of us are going to go back out with signs, because, you know, if there's people out there that don't know what's going on now in Hollywood, then you know what, forget it, man. You go back to sleep, man. There's enough of us. There's enough of us. I'm not even worried about it.
Dan Warp. Well, don't forget. Wait, Dan, ask him about some of these pictures. And if you haven't gotten your quota of uncomfortableness and awkwardness, go check out the Google images of Dan and his wife. Oh my God. Awkward. Wow.
Pedo Wood. Yep.
New hashtag. Pedogate News. Hashtag Pedogate News.
Yeah. I think we can get Pedo Wood trending pretty soon.
Let's do it.
All right.
Thanks, Howie.
John, as always, man.
Tuesday. We'll see you Tuesday.
Well, ready for Tuesday.
Loaded for bear.